Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together this little 3D love book, which is a little gift box that opens to hold small gifts or some candy. So I've been wanting to do some sort of little book for a while. So this is a little 3D love book box. So when you open it, there's a little place to put little goodies. So Valentine's Day, I figured that was my first time to do it. I've done one, but just not as a file. So this is the ribbon we'll be using. There's some acetate for the window, and then heart. I think that's just a cutout heart. I don't think that's part of it. So I kept the cutout hearts as the negatives, and then these are the panels. And these are the box pieces right here. So there's box pieces, which are those. And here's the cover, and here's a little decorative thing for the edge here. That's the cover, and this is the insert. So we're going to work on the box first to assemble the box. So there's a couple pieces here. We want to go ahead and fold them. If it seems like they fold pretty easily, if you're using a Cricut, you may have to use the score wheel or score tool. It probably takes a little bit more force for you. I cut my score lines with a kiss cut. This particular one I used Silhouette. I do have videos on how to do that. So we want these skinny parts first. So as you'll see, the tabs on one side are smaller than the other and angled, so that you want to get the thin ones at the top like that. Get that out of view. I'm using American Crafts textured cardstock. So we're going to go ahead, and this is the bottom, or the sides and whatever. So we're going to go ahead and just add glue to that side tab. Line this up to the left edge. Make sure it's lined up on the top and bottom. Don't go over the fold line, and I usually give it just a little bit to the right. I mean, a little offset, slightly though. You can try to do it exactly. I mean, obviously it is engineered to be exactly, but we can't see that to the naked eye. So we're going to go ahead and just fold that piece over. Add glue to this other side, and I do use art glitter glue and a little fine tip applicator. So there's always information on within the product description. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you'd have to go to the product description. So we're just lining it up. It's nice that it just kind of folds over and gets into place. And then here, you want to make sure that's good and dry. I didn't get it completely lined up as well as I'd like to. I think the easiest thing for this one, I don't glue the tabs on the inside. I want to make it a little stronger, so I'm going to fold it inwards. Now I'm going to. It also makes it easier to glue it. But since you won't see these tabs, these are going to be glued to the insert of the book. Then we don't care whether it's on the bottom. So I'm just adding glue to these 3 tabs. Make sure you get to the edge, because it does have quite a little angle on it. I mean, it doesn't have a big angle, but it's a 45-degree angle. So now just fold them under and then apply pressure in. So this has a inside to make it kind of like a thicker, I think I call them thick-walled boxes. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to put this together, and it's going to go inside. So, okay, so you'll see I folded it this way. If you cut it on this side and you want textured, cardstock, you'll have to alternate folder like this, go backwards. You can also cut it upside down on your mat. I just kind of pulled on this a little bit. Let's get that fixed. You can cut it upside down on your mat if you have textured paper, and then it'll fold naturally with a mountain fold. So you have the textured side inside. If you don't care about textured on inside, you can fold it naturally like this. So we're just not gonna, if you fold it naturally like this, when we insert it, we'll have the non-textured side inside. So that's up to you. I'm just giving you the options. So we're gonna just do it naturally. So we want to put the tabs on the outside. And the reason is when we put it in there, you won't see it on the inside. The other thing we want to do is train these tabs backwards. Just these edge ones. Because they're going to glue and attach to these right here. So we want to make sure that they're folded. You want to pre-fold them before you do that. It's just easier to do it against the table. And you could use like a bone folder or something like that. I tend not to use them. If you watch my videos, I probably should. But I use things like this. I like this actually better than a bone because it's really smooth. It's a wooden stylus, and I use it for almost everything when it comes to folding, curling, anything. So we're going to go ahead and glue these to the outside. Oops. So we just want to do that. And try not to go too quickly. Make sure your glue is dry. Don't want it to come apart once we get it in there. Also, I want a friendly reminder, if you do like our videos, to give us a little like below, and or you can subscribe to our channel. If you hit that little notification bell, you'll be notified when we have new designs, projects, tutorials, that kind of thing. So make sure this is good and dry. Then we're going to insert it in here. So I'll show you how it's going to go. So we're going to glue it in here. So this is where something like really thin, like this is a wooden chopstick. So when I glue it, I'm just going to show you before I do it, I can always get under and apply a little pressure underneath it to get it set in place. But for the most part, it kind of is rigid enough if you're using a thicker paper to get it set there. So you just want to center it. So you don't need to go all the way to the edge. I didn't make it go all the way to the edge. So you just want to center it. So this is what I would start on one side. Actually, we'll put glue on both sides. And this came apart just a little bit there. Let's get that fixed. Sometimes you notice that and it's not good timing. So I'm going to center it. I'm going to push that down a little bit. And these are slightly smaller than the other sides, but you can push them in so they line up with the edges. You could do all four at once if you like. And if you want to get additional something thin in there, it's not really easy, but it should just go on and you should be able to rub it. But don't overlap it. Have this go beyond the edge, as that won't, that'll be visible when we put that top panel. We want it to be as clean as possible. So I'm just doing that side. So that's the reason I kept gaps there, is so if you want to put something in there to apply pressure underneath, you can. And then I'm going to kind of flip it over and apply pressure that way. Make sure it's good and flat, and then we can go ahead and add this top piece. So there's not a lot of places we can go ahead, and the best thing I think is to add glue here. Go as much to the edge that you can, because we have an open spot there, so we want it to glue well there. So I'm not doing really heavy glue, just enough to get it in place. Making sure there's no glue on my fingertips to get in places I don't want it. So this is your little gift box inside. Go ahead and line this up. I'm just going to lightly go around the edge before I apply additional pressure. So we do have like one little corner. So the nice thing about this, if you have like one that's not as clean a corner, we'll make that an inside edge, or in a place where it won't be as visible. So once you get it in place, I'm just going to put it upside down. I'm just rubbing it lightly and holding it. So that's the inside. So that's the inside. So this is a little bit small. You could increase it in size if you wanted to. So now we have this little insert. And this, again, I cut it with the texture side up, but we need to fold it this way. So this time I do actually really want the texture side up. But if you didn't, again, if you wanted to have it like naturally fold better, you could go ahead and cut it upside down. Just put the paper upside down, basically. Oops, so we go like that. So now we're going to glue that in like that. So it should fit in. And we're going to glue it in there and center it. So now after we folded this, we'll go ahead, I'm going to find this panel. So let me find the panel. And it has a little funky little curves on, or little corners. We're just going to glue that right there. So that'll be on the inside when you open it, in the inside left. I want to do that first. So I'm just lining it up with the, but actually, oof, almost forgot. Sorry about that. We want to add this little acetate piece. So I'm just going to add glue around here. And then we'll add this other piece. We're just going to center that. And then we'll add that. So let's see if may not have to add additional glue, but we'll just do that just in case. And I apologize for the back noise. I have a really, really noisy heater, an old noisy heater. So at one point it's going to sound really quiet, but I try to film in between or without heat, but it's been a little chilly. So hopefully I'm loud enough to go over that, but that's, if you're hearing kind of a blowing noise, that's the reason. So now I'm just going to pick which way I want this to go, and we're going to, it's going to go like that. So let's go ahead and add glue to the back of this. You see I have a little gap right there, and that's... So you want to carefully place this on the right hand side. You want to get it lined up. I'm going to center it on the top and bottom, so I'm just sliding it slightly, making sure it's lined up there. So now I have it in the place I want it to. So if you're wondering, it's going to go right in here once it's dry, so it'll be sitting in here. To make a little book. So I'm letting that dry. And I'm actually going to glue this part right here. So you just want to add glue to this. And this could come apart, so you want to make sure this is good and dry. I've done it a couple times now. I tried to give it a little bit more allowance to be able to fold really well. So once you fold it over, I'm just going to train that a little bit. I'm just lightly holding it on the edge there and applying pressure on the table to get it to dry. So we want to get that to dry, and they'll go on to the next step. So now that that's dry, let's go ahead and flip this over and add these. So I'm not going to add this part specifically because we're going to curl that a little bit. I started doing that. Actually, let's do that. I'm going to go, and you can do it with the tool. I'm just curving it a little bit. I did not want, some people put little fold lines in, but I did not want it to have fold lines. So basically, I want it to just curve a little bit, not a whole lot. So you can also do that on the edge of a table, your tabletop. If your table has a, you can't see it, but a smooth edge, you can get a curl. So you can kind of see I've done that. So let's go ahead, this goes on the back, the solid one goes on the back. And then the one with the heart cut out goes on the front, and I'll show you how that goes. So I'm just going to center this. So we could theoretically put this on now after you curled it. Now I'm actually going to do that, but put it on very lightly. So I use a fine tip applicator, but if you're having trouble with it, you might want to use vinyl on this. So if you want a better look for what you see as the pink parts, you might want to use vinyl. So a lot of people use vinyl these days, and I'm not against it. I'm just using cardstock on this, but I think if I were to do it again, a nice gold vinyl might be fun. And even for this part, which will go behind like that, I mean, you could use you still could use cardstock, but I'm just going to lightly place it because I don't want to affect the bend. So with glue, of course, once you get it down, it's down. You don't want to get it everywhere. But I'm trying not to affect the curve by putting too much glue. So you want to put really light glue. When you start adding glue, it kind of makes it a little bit more binding. So I missed putting glue on this part. And if you're struggling getting it, the glue to get on these little spots, you can also use a paintbrush too to paint on the glue. So, and Xyron sticker maker, that's a good application of that as well. So this just layers. So there's really not a whole lot to this. I mean, I think the hardest parts will be just the assembly of the the box, and then this part, which does require some thought process and order. Because once we get this on, let me just line that up at the bottom, just carefully, and at the top and the edges. And I actually put a little too much glue, so I forgot about that. So you could put the glue, just be careful where you put it. It's not going to hurt any because we're just going to put it on. I just didn't want to have a heart, have you have to line up the heart too many times. I didn't get this perfectly centered. So I'm just going to ink the edges a little bit so you can see me in the middle of this. I'm using Distress Oxide. And this little iCrafter blending brush. This is just a piece of scrap paper. I just don't like to get the ink on my mat because it gets on projects if it's not completely dry. But I like the way Distress Oxide blends. These are just the finger ones I'm using right now to blend them. They're good for edges for sure. I could use a bigger one, but it's just smaller and easier to handle. So you can see I put a little bit too much. So I'm just trying to get it even around it. So probably it's not exactly the look I wanted, but that's okay. It's working out. So now let's go ahead and place that. So you want to add the glue on this because there's, you'll see why. We're going to add the glue to this piece. I'm trying not to get too close to the opening so the glue doesn't. So I have a little wiggle room. So I'm gonna center it just like I did. So you're gonna look at the sides when you're putting this on, because we have this center piece. So it's offset a little bit, so you get the red coming through. I put it on a little crooked, but it's all right. I put that crooked, then I put that crooked. That threw me off. So now I have two pieces of ribbon. So the ribbon's going to go underneath here, so you can see it. It's going to glue underneath. And also we're going to glue a piece underneath here. So like that, so we can tie it shut. Okay, so and you can see as I glue it, that little curve right here will naturally bow out right there. And then this is where you can see if you have to add a little glue. I'm just adding a little glue there to get that part. So you can always do that after the fact. So you can play around with it, but I took about 7 to 9 inches of ribbon for each side. Depending on how you tie your ribbon is how long you need it. So, but to have enough, and I'm just going to clip it off. I have more than enough, so I'm going to show you, because this is probably about, let's see, I'm measuring it right now, 13, okay, got to start at 1 here. Okay, so this is a little bit longer. This is 8 inches, but I went longer with this because I wanted to make sure I had enough. So you could use twine too. So I'm just going to glue it on the inside here. And I'm not sure how well this is going to glue. I haven't done this one before. So let's see what happens. Whoopsie, didn't need to do that. Okay, fortunately that's going to be hidden. I'm trying to get kind of in the center. Okay, that's messy. And we'll go ahead and put a light. We're going to do the ribbon on the other side, so just remember you need to do that first. You find another adhesive works better, because I have other adhesives, but I'm not pulling them out quite yet. We want this edge right here to line up with the edge, that edge right there. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure it's centered on the top and bottom. So don't get the glue. I'm kind of scooching it up a little bit right now. So again, just like we did before, we're gonna kind of hold it in place. And I want to make sure that this is in the ribbon's in the same place on the other side. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, let's do this. Just going to go around like that. And just kind of doing it from the side. I'm just going to mark where it should be. I don't want that to show, so I'm just doing a pencil. Let me get rid of, I know I have a little edge there. So that's why I used a pencil. That probably would have been easier. Yeah, I'm about in the right place. So we're right here. I'm gonna do glue that there. We'll just add glue here. Don't go to the edge, because the edge it'll be seen. Doesn't need to be perfect, but close. So I got a little glue on my fingertips because this ribbon goes through. So when we go like this, we want to glue this. We want to line that up. So I'm going to, as it's drying, I'm just gonna put a little bead of glue on the edge of this. And again, try not to get too close to that center part. We don't want to get any glue on the acetate. And so here's a little bit of a challenge. You have to get this lined up. So line the heart up. I'm just going to move that over. Line the opening on both sides of so the heart, see it lines in there. It can't go flat because we have the reason we're doing it the way we're doing it is so we have that little curve. So once you get it in place, we can go ahead and apply pressure. So I'm going to flip it over now and apply pressure. So you want to do that as long as you need to get it good and adhered. So this is basically, I'm going to trim this off, but once you get it the size you want, you can trim it a little bit. I don't like to retie and tie because it throws off the bow, so I tend to tie after I have something in it. So you can see the box opening. Once you can put some candy in there, I usually tie it and then snip it close. It would be easier with a not as thick ribbon and a thinner ribbon or twine. So I just didn't have a twine that I felt that matched this really well, so I just went with this ribbon. So it matched that paper. So as you can see, that keeps it shut, but I didn't trim it yet, as typically, so I guess my feedback to you is probably a thinner ribbon, but I like the color, how it matched this, so I chose that one. And then you can go ahead and just made some noise, but snip the ribbon, even though I'm going to open it up again and tie it again. But snip it to where you, if you're not done and you're going to open it time and time again, so you might want to make it a little longer, and until you get your final gift in, I like to tie it only after I put something in it. So I mean, obviously I have to tie it to show you what it looks like, but typically if I were to give this as a gift, you can see that I would not tie it at the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to untie it, and I'm sure people are so much better at tying than I am. And then it opens up, and then you can have some candy in there. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.